and I'm going to read a very short excerpt from it by Mistress Morgana, who's also from San Francisco, and it's called An Open Letter to the Bush Administration. I'm going to read you her bio so you can find out a little more about her. This is, I wish I had her courage, and maybe next time I'll write about, I don't know. Maybe I'll still write about the Bush twins, because, I don't know, I think Jenna's hot. Okay. Mistress Morgana is an experienced San Francisco-based BDSM professional and sex educator. Her workshops on BDSM have delighted thousands of curious people of all persuasions, and she is the co-writer and host of the instructional video Whip Smart, a Good Vibrations Guide to SM for Beginning Couples. Her writing has appeared in the Best American Erotica 2005 and Politically Inspired. Mistress Morgana believes that the current Bush administration is neither safe, sane, nor consensual, and could learn a great deal from the ethics of BDSM play. Okay, so once again, this is not my story, but I think it's really awesome. An Open Letter to the Bush Administration by Mistress Morgana, and I think her website is mistressmorgana.com. Okay. Dear Bush Administration, my name is Morgana May, and I'm a small business owner living and working in San Francisco. I appreciate that your administration strives to, quote, create an environment where entrepreneurs can flourish. But I'm writing today because, despite the president's assertion that small business is, quote, the heart of the American economy, your agenda has adversely affected my business as a professional dominatrix. I've examined my business plan, my advertising, and the trend toward neoconservative sex negativity, but I keep coming back to the same gut feeling. You're doing my job better than I can. If wartime is good for prostitutes and lap dancers, it's hell on dominatrices. The professional dominant makes her money for the same reason disaster movies make millions. People love to be subjected to their greatest fears while remaining realistically safe. Production studios understand this. They will delay the release of movies about terrorist plots or natural disasters when such events have actually occurred. They know there is something in the consumer conscience that feels guilty about being entertained by misery and destruction. My work deals with the sexual fantasy of disempowerment. Fantasy is a tricky artifice. It relies in part on the insurance of impossibility. The same fantastical impulse that draws millions into movie theaters to watch zombies destroy the world brings men into my dungeon, where they can enact a fantasy of their utter destruction without any real danger of being harmed. It's cathartic, it's entertaining, it cuts through all the bourgeois comfort of being white and male and landed without actually subverting any of the comforts of being white and male and landed. I explain all of this to you because over the past 7 years, your administration has successfully organized what has to be the longest non-consensual public edge play scene in recent history. I look at your capacity to manufacture fear, degradation, torture, and absolute powerlessness, and I can't top that. Your current policy of world domination is so excessive, it dwarfs any attempt by an independent contractor like myself to do so on a more person-to-person basis. I have a better international travel record than Mr. Bush, a stronger right arm than Mr. Rumsfeld, and a better rack than Ms. Rice. I don't have anything close to your operating budget, and I adhere to a code of ethics and social responsibility that prevents me from competing with you on any sort of real level. I was at the top of my field, a seasoned sadist and skilled edge player with more than a decade of experience. Yet over the past 7 years, your campaign has rendered me a Pollyanna by comparison. You are bad for my corporate image and are disenfranchising me from the American dream of profitable small business ownership. It's not just that you're marketing yourself as a bigger, badder top. You're taking the fantasy out of torture and domination and making it real, which is triggering that annoying consumer conscience and driving away my clients. The week the Abu Ghraib prison scandal broke and pictures of naked, bound, hooded men were splashed on the cover of every magazine on every newscast the world over, I had 2 extended sessions booked, consisting of 12 hours of heavy electrogenic torture, full sensory deprivation, and humiliating interrogation. One client canceled outright, saying it just didn't feel right and that he was going to re-examine why he was into all this stuff anyway. The other asked if I could conduct the session in any room other than the dungeon, Perhaps a kitchen where he could wear a frilly dress and wash my floor and just feel safe for a few hours. Your policies have stripped the sexiness out of being inescapably imprisoned for no reason and with no due process. In fact, the only subgroup of my clientele that has increased over the past 7 years have been adult babies. You've reduced the world to a place where people just want to cuddle and hear a bedtime story. This is hardly an apt use of my skills or equipment, and certainly not a broad enough clientele to make my house payment. And if out-doming me and driving away my clients isn't enough of a complaint, I'd like to point out that the professional dominant bases her sessions on the doctrine of preemptive strike. This whole policy of, I'm going to punish you before you've been bad, is so my shtick. I was employing preemptive strike before Mr. Bush's daddy was in office the first time around. I have a published precedent. If shticks were copyright protected, I'd sue and retire to the Bahamas on my settlement. I'm not asking for a lot, but as a taxpayer and an American, I have a couple of requests. You could stop advertising, for one thing. Previous administrations did a much better job of keeping their agenda for world domination on the down low. Besides, tops that tout themselves as ruthlessly as you do, especially in the face of bad reviews, always strike me as distastefully insecure. And since it's doubtful in this era of expanded federal power that you'd consider some measure of self-imposed antitrust policy, how about a subsidy or federal grant to compensate me for profits lost due to unfair government competition? At last count, your administration was spending $255 million a day in Iraq. That comes out to about $10.6 million per hour, or $177,000 per minute. For the cost of about 5 minutes of your time in Iraq, I could pay off my mortgage and have a nice little nest egg for myself. I'll get out of the business and leave your number on my voicemail as a referral for my clients. Respectfully yours, Mistress Morgana.